I recently got back into the rudimental drumming world as a high school marching band percussion instructor. So I wanted to go over some of the exercises and techniques that all drummers need to know. Your grip and ready position are critical if you're going to develop your hands as a rudimental drummer or a drummer of any type, really. Divide the stick into thirds, and between the first third and the second third, you're going to have your fulcrum, which is with your pointer finger and your thumb. And make sure that the gap between your thumb and your hand is closed. You don't want it open, when the stick will move all over the place. We want it closed and secure. Now, when you squeeze right there, squeeze enough to hold onto the stick so that you don't drop it, but not so much that it's uncomfortable. Okay, it might not be super comfortable at first because it's something new. However, if you do it for 5 minutes a day, day after day, stacked days in a row, you'll find that by day 2 and 3, you're going to be more and more comfortable with it. It doesn't take much for your brain and your hands to get on the same page and decide, oh, this is what we're going to do. So when you pinch, stay relaxed. However, with your hand, there's different ways to play. There's the French grip, there's German grip, there's an American grip that's sort of in between. What you want is the top of your hand about 80% or more facing up. Everyone's hand is a little different size. It wraps around the stick a little bit differently. But when you wrap your fingers around the stick, keep them nice and loose, pinch the fulcrum, and keep your hand facing up so that you could put like, a stack of quarters there and it stays, while you're not playing. The ready position, tips are almost touching, but not totally, because you don't want, that action while you're playing, right? In the center of the drum, and that's where you're going to play. Okay? The first stroke is the rebound stroke. Our ready position is different for rebound strokes, and this is the next lesson that every drummer needs to know. Rebound strokes, we start up here because that's where the stroke starts. And what you're doing when you play a rebound stroke is you're not stopping the stick down at the drum. That's a different type of stroke we'll talk about in a minute. The rebound stroke lets the stick come back up. Now, to get the stick to come back up, you have to put enough energy into the stroke, enough velocity into the stroke to get the rebound. A lot of drummers will play not enough, and the stick comes to here, and then they sort of finish it off. That's wrong. That would be an upstroke. You're prepping when really it's just a downstroke and the stick comes back. All right, and your hand is just controlling the stick, holding the stick, but just getting out of the way of the stick too. Letting the stick come back up and stopping it in the ready position. The exercise for this is called 8 on a hand, and it's 8 legato or rebound strokes in each hand. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Another exercise you can practice for legato strokes goes like this. We call it 8ths and 16ths, and it's one of many different variations of 8ths and 16ths. 1E and a 2E and a 3 and 4 and 1E and a 2E and a 3 and 4 and 1E and 2E and a 3 and 4 and 1E and a 2E and a 3 and 4 and. Those are legato strokes. Now, the other stroke is the opposite. You're going to stop the rebound. It's called a controlled stroke, also called a staccato stroke. And really what you're doing is you're using your hand, including your fingers, to just not let the stick come back up. And then you're relaxing. You don't want to stay tight. Tight hands are bad for drumming. Okay? You want your hands to flow, but you want to control the stick. So it's a balance between squeezing and stopping and using those muscles to control the stick in that way, and then relaxing so you can play legato strokes at lower volumes. Okay? So that stroke, the controlled stroke, we usually do an exercise called bucks or accent to tap, and there's many different variations on accent to tap, but this is one of them that I like. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. What's important about that stroke is sometimes when you're playing, let's say you're playing flams, and we'll get to that in a minute, to play hand-to-hand flams, your stick needs to stay down for the grace note coming up. So when we get to that lesson, I'm going to come back to the control strokes. Just remember that. Reading rhythms. I often get questions about reading rhythms, and people start by saying, I don't know how to read music, I just don't get it. And far too often, no one's really taught them, okay? It's fractions and math and symbols. It just so happens that you just have to learn some new symbols that correlate to specific fractions, right? If it's 4/4, it's telling you that there's 4 beats in a measure, and the quarter note is what we consider a beat. All right, so there'll be 4 quarter notes fitting into that measure. I also think of it like pizza. You know, the whole note even looks like a pizza. If you cut it in half, you have 2 halves. 2 halves fit in a measure of 4/4. 4 quarter notes, just like 4 quarters in a dollar, fits into a measure or a dollar, right? If it's 3/8, there's 3 beats in a measure, and an eighth note is a beat. Just like if it's 3/4, there's 3 beats in a measure, and a quarter note is a beat. There's whole notes, and there's half notes, and quarter notes, and eighth notes, and 16th notes, and guess what comes next? What's 16 times 2? Let's just keep on cutting it in half. 32nd notes, 64th notes, and so on. Now, each type of note also has a rest that correlates with it, a whole note and a whole rest, a half note and a half rest, a quarter note and a quarter rest, eighth note, eighth rest, 16th note, 16th rest. There's some sight reading channels for drummers as well that you can go find. So practice that stuff. It's the only way to do it. And first of all, when you do it, you have to be able to count it in time and then play it and count it. Okay? Don't just jump into playing. You got to count it. All right? So when we're counting quarter notes, there's 4 quarter notes, so it would be 1, 2, 3, 4 in a 4/4 measure. If we were counting eighth notes that filled up a 4/4 measure, it would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 16th notes would be 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and Okay? It gets more complicated than that, but for beginning and for really most of your intermediate and some of the advanced stuff, really, you don't need to go beyond what I just told you. Check patterns. Now, you can count, you can read, you know the strokes. Let's coordinate our hands and train them to play automatically with the right hands when we're doing hand-to-hand natural sticking. We usually start off with 1E and a 2 and. We also called it alligator monkey for the 5th and 6th graders. So 1E and a 2 and, 3E and a 4 and. You can extend that with 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4 and. Repeat it. 1E and a 2 and, 3E and a 4 and, 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4 and. And notice that I'm back to the rebound stroke playing position. Okay, because these are all rebound strokes. Other check pattern variations, just remove a 16th note. So you might remove the last one. 1E and. 1E and The is gone. So it's just 2 16th notes and an eighth note. That would be 1E and, 2 and, 3E and, 4 and, 1E and, 2E and, 3E and, 4 and. And like all these exercises, make sure your strokes are the same height and the same sound. All right, that if you closed your eyes or someone didn't know because they couldn't see what you're playing, they wouldn't know what hand you're using. Okay, also start these exercises with your left hand. 1E and a 2 and, 3E and a 4 and, 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4 and, 1E and 2 and, 3E and 4 and, 1E and 2E and 3E and 4 and. Another one, if you take out the second 16th note, it would be 1 and a 2 and. If you take out the third 16th note, it would be 1E, a 2 and, 3E, a 4 and, 1E, a 2E, a 3E, a 4 and. That's a good one to focus on your left hand to make sure it's pulling its weight because it's going E, 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 right? On that second measure, it's really doing E, 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 and then the and, right? 1E, a 2E, a 3E, a 4 and. 1E, a 2E, a 3E, a 4 and. Really focus on that left hand. And the last check pattern would be 1E and a 2 and, 3E and a 4 and, 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4 and. So there's no 16th note on the downbeat of the 16th note groupings. Let's get into some rolls. The buzz roll is a different type of stroke. Some people call it a press roll or a buzz stroke. You're going to pinch your fulcrum and press it into the pad or the drum. You want it to bounce as much as you can. It's also called a multiple bounce roll. A roll for drummers is our sustain. If we need to sustain a sound and get the drum to do a continuous sound, this is what we have. We have buzz rolls, and we also have open rolls, which you can also call the buzz roll a closed roll. So buzz roll, closed roll, press roll, these are all the same thing. If you compare it to the open stroke roll, because the distance between one hit and another is more open, in this case equally open, then it makes sense to call this a closed roll because you're closing down those spaces. Now, there's different roll skeletons or lengths of rolls. You have the 5-stroke roll. For buzz rolls, it doesn't make as much sense when we say 5-stroke roll because that actually comes from the open roll. 2, 4, 5. It's 5 strokes. When you play that as buzz strokes, that would be different than open strokes. So for an open roll, 7-stroke roll, it would be 2, 4, 6, 7. For a 9-stroke roll, it would be 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. If you were doing this with check patterns, it would be 1E and a 2 and. That's another reason we do check patterns. It's not just to train your hands to play a certain sticking automatically when you see a rhythm. It's also to understand when you see a roll and you see that it's a quarter note tied to the next beat, you know that it's going to be a 9-stroke roll depending on how it's notated. You can do also like 11-stroke rolls, 13-stroke rolls, 6-stroke rolls. 6-stroke rolls, interesting. And we're getting into tap rolls and more stuff that we'll go over in a video on rolls. Flams. You heard me playing some flams when I was doing this stuff. Okay, those are flams. A flam has 2 strokes. One is the primary stroke, and it is either a rebound or a controlled stroke depending on what you're going to play with that hand after. All right, so the other stroke is the grace note. And think of it like you're executing them at the same time, but because this one's closer, it's going to hit the drum first. Now you can play tighter flams or more open flams. Tighten them up. Open. It just depends on the composition, the musical situation. With flams, we're back to the controlled stroke. because you got to keep that stroke down for the grace note. If you're playing hand-to-hand flams. If I take my hand away, all Bucks is really just hand-to-hand flams, but with one hand at a time. Now, other rudiments when it comes to flams include things like flam accents, flam taps. So I'll show you some flam accents. Flam accents, you can play them in 16th notes or triplets. Let's do it in triplets, which would be 3 eighth notes, 3 triplet eighths per quarter note. Okay, instead of breaking down the quarter note into 2 eighth notes, we're going to break down the quarter note into 3 eighth notes. And we'll count it 1 and a, 1 and a, 2 and a, 3 and a, 4 and a, 1. And I put accents on the downbeats. These are flam accents. That's the check pattern, so let's add the flams. Now, if you're playing these and it's not comfortable, separate your hands. If it's not sounding right and you just know this isn't right, this is a mess, clean it up by focusing on one hand at a time. So it's so you have to flammulate or separate your hands. All right, and we'll do more with flams in another video to add drags and paradiddles and all kinds of stuff. Speaking of paradiddles, paradiddles are a sticking combination. So you're going right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left. Those are single paradiddles. Now, a lot of drummers add accents to the downbeats, and that would go like this. Right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left. Okay? Now, there's other types of paradiddles where you might play more diddles, all right? Or extend the single portion. So a double paradiddle would be right, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, right, left, left. Or a paradiddle diddle would be right, left, right, right, left, left. Those are really fun to play on drum set. They're really fun to play just in general. All right, so a paradiddle exercise that I like goes like this. You can do that with double paradiddles or paradiddle diddles. What's nice about that exercise is it balances the hands. Even when you repeat the whole thing, you're repeating the whole thing left hand lead. So it's like 2 levels of balancing the right and left hands. You're getting equal focus and attention on your hands, telling yourself both hands are important, which is really number 10. This is number 10 on the list, balanced development. Practice in a balanced way that you're balancing your warm-up, your rudimentary development, and also the stuff that's fun. Like, you gotta practice fun stuff. I'll warm up on the pad sometimes, or I'll go on the drum set and just warm up on toms. You know, I had a lesson years ago with Jim Chapin, and he said, you know, just play single strokes. And not like single strokes, no, just one stroke on the drum. And feel that. Okay, feel that rebound, right? And really move your arms around. Okay, in another set of lessons, I'll start to talk more about using your arm and some of the advanced techniques that Jim Chapin talks about, but you can find those videos on YouTube, all right? You can find one from Jim Chapin. And we'll get into some of the Joe Morello stuff, the molar technique. It's really, really powerful stuff. Once you develop these fundamentals, once you have your hands at a place where you can start to tell your arms to do a little bit more and to incorporate a little bit more finesse and a little bit more advanced techniques to play faster, to play cleaner, to do more with less energy. If you like this video and you want to watch more, check out this one suggested to you by YouTube. And if you want more from Rhythm Notes, go to rhythminsider.com/links, where you'll find access to the monthly newsletter, where you'll get, as lessons come out, you'll get the PDF for these new YouTube lessons. If you want full access to the Rhythm Notes PDF library, you can go to Patreon, become a member,